Welcome to the Rider's Edge podcast, a platform to share conversations about the health and wellness of horse and rider. I'm your host, Farley Schweigert. Hey y'all, it's Farley with the Rider's Edge podcast, and welcome to my conversation about growth. I want to talk about growth today, and growth can be applied and worked through in many different arenas. You know, if I look at my journey in my life, I have different arenas and they overlap often. My cliches or my analogies overlap even more often than that. But they overlap, and there's a lot of lessons that can be learned and applied from one arena to the next. My tribe and we often talk about growth, and I talk about growth probably with every member of my tribe in one aspect or the other. And every member of my tribe has their level of expertise or the arena of growth we talk about the most. And it's always neat to get perspectives from them and to talk through and have reflection about what's going on. And this is not a podcast today about how awesome my tribe is, although I will give a shout out to them. They are pretty dang amazing. And I hope you have a tribe that you feel the same way about, or you're cultivating one. Because over the years, cultivating this tribe has been essential for me and my process and my journey. So I have a friend that says, if you're not growing, you're dying. And to that, I typically have an argument because when that comes up, I'm frustrated because I've had a growth moment. And it's icky and uncomfortable and grody and gritty and, any other adjective you want to put in there. And I just want a pause button. Have you ever wanted a pause button for growth? They make them for the TV now, so why can't we make them for growth? And to that, she would say, but if you're not growing, you're dying. And there's not any in between. And I'd sit back and I'd be like, but I still want a pause button. I just promise I'll just pause for a moment. I'll pause long enough to let everything sink in and marinate and just settle so that the growth has really taken hold. And then I'll press play. But would I really? Would I really press play? Or would I come up with a lame excuse of just 5 more minutes or just one more cookie, that's all. And then I'll get back after it. So it circles back around to she's right. Gosh, I would hate to admit that to her. But she's right. I would probably not press play again. And that would cause regression. Growth in the emotional arena can be very challenging and can cause a lot of discomfort, a lot of reflection, a lot of heartache. It can cause elation as well, because if you've had an emotional growth moment and you're able to recognize it and get through that, and you're like, yeah, I just killed it. It was amazing. I got through that hard situation and I got through it just like this, whatever that is. And so I hope for you, if you're having a lot of emotional growth moments, I think I like to sit and say, I've had more than my fair share. And then I remind myself of my elegant saying about fair. Fair is a place you go to show pigs. And I've had a lot of opportunity for growth in the past few years, and particularly in the past few months, it just keeps coming down the pipe, keeps coming down, keeps coming down. And I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful for my tribe because in this emotional growth period, for me, you may not do this, but you might. For me, I will often judge myself. I will often judge myself and be like, oh, this is stupid. Feeling this way is stupid. I should be past this. I should be better. I should be able to leap tall buildings by now, jump higher, swim faster, all the things. And through discussion and reflection with different people, they remind me that I'm human. Sometimes they do that. That's icky too, to be reminded that you're human, especially when you have a Superman complex. But they remind me that I'm human, and they remind me to feel those things and go through that process and not try to shortcut it, not try to jump through it and ease it along just because you don't want to be uncomfortable. Because going through that whole experience will get you through that lesson in a more complete fashion. Going through that whole experience will allow you to learn and mold and change without having regression and not having, having that lesson 75% learned, and now you got to go learn another lesson to get the other 25%. And to not be so dang hard on myself, that it's perfectly normal to feel whatever and to go through that motion. And it doesn't mean that anything that I'm silly or that emotion is stupid or this, that, or the other. So it's really by letting go of some of those self judgments that I've had, it's really allowed me to step further into that journey and really grow and process. And the last few things have happened, I've been able to really change how I reflect and conversate with people about that and say, this is what happened. This is how I feel now. This is what I've gotten through in the process, and this is where I'm going. And that's been a pretty cool thing to have short versions and shorter versions of something. And when it needs to be longer told, I do that. And a lot of times in this latest the latest growth situation, the short version has sufficed, and then we move on. So it's been a pretty cool moment for me. Growth happens on the exercise table as well. We've talked a lot on this podcast the last few months about mindful movement and guided movement. If you are somebody who is not a gym rat, who says, oh, I don't have time to work out. Oh, I get my workout in when I ride. Oh, I get my workout in at the barn. You don't understand, Farrells. I'm always at the barn. Well, I do. And to that I say 10 minutes a day. Hashtag 10 mindful minutes. Hashtag 10 minutes of movement will really start to change your direction in how you ride. And it's 10 minutes of consistent movement, and consistently putting that in, you will tend to go further with that workout. You will tend to do more and really start to develop a workout habit. Now, for me, again, I'm human, dang it, but the last week and a half has been real sketch on getting the 10 minutes at the exercise table. Oh, I'll get it tomorrow. Oh, I'll get in, I'm going to run home and ride with what little sunlight I have left, and I'll get it when I get in from the barn. Oh, wait, we're having tacos for dinner? Oh, we'll pick it back up in the morning. So, kind of some not as clear a movement pattern going on, movement workout going on, which has led to not as clear thinking, not as clear writing for me for the last week or so. And picking that back up has really helped. The last 3 or 4 days has really helped my mindset going into work, my ability to have stamina throughout the day, and to really still be able to get after it for the next thing. And it's just helped so much. And I know I'm human and I'll ebb and flow and regress and pick it back up. And hopefully, my regressions won't last as long as they do sometimes. And so we'll get back on the horse quicker. And pun intended, I reckon, on that one. But that that growth within just the physical arena of moving around and doing things has really helped. The other thing about the growth on the exercise table is the all or none factor. So one of my go-to exercises right now in my movement time is a sustained bridge with my knees rotating out and in. So I'm holding a bridge position and I'm abducting and adducting back in. And I'm tell you what, it's a butt kicker. Not only is it a butt kicker, but it will really activate that whole lower pelvic core connection that we've talked a lot about on the podcast. And so, gosh, you get that done along with your other movements, and I'm like, oh, look at me. My core is tight. I feel good. I just feel amazing. My waist is shrinking. I am going to just kill it on everything else I'm going to do. Look at me go, blah, 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 blah. And then I have to remind myself, you got to do it again tomorrow, Farrells, along with your other exercises. And tomorrow you need to make sure and make more time for your shoulder exercises. Oh, the all or none. Have you been there before? Have you been there with, oh, I killed that workout today, and then you didn't work out for another 30 days because you killed that one workout, and it should be good enough for the next 30 days. Sigh. I'll just say it. So, it's just normal. I'm here to tell you it's normal. The Superman complex, as I like to call it, it's a normal thing to work through, whether you're talking about getting a better exercise routine or improving your emotional or mental health. It's a normal thing. It's a normal thing that sometimes gets carried on and over into the barn. You know, when we get to the barn and we talk about growth with our horses, we expect growth with our horses every day, all day, a measurable, sustainable amount of growth that was more than yesterday. And there is no time for regression, there's no sliding backwards, nothing like that. It should just be amazing. Our horses should sit in their stalls all day and think about what we want them to do next, and when we come get them out of their stalls, be able to just do it. You may be driving down the road, go, Farrells, that's a little extreme. Ouch. I don't think that about my horses. Well, you probably think somewhere or have had thoughts about that somewhere about your horses, because I know I have. And when I met Phil Haugen several years ago, when I was first introduced to 1% improvement a day. Now, there's a lot of people that talk about 1% improvement in different aspects, but he sat on his horse there and he said, I shoot for 1% improvement every day with my horses, within 100 days, I'm going to have 100% improvement. And that was a game changer for me. I had a horse that was, kind of in those middle to late stages of being finished, and I'd really struggled with some things. And that 1% opened the door for me to focus internally. That 1% opened the door that allowed me to focus on the process and not the result, to go inward and internally and rewrite what I consider success, rewrite what I consider to focus on and be the priority, and not focus on an arbitrary goal, an arbitrary outside goal that I think should be there because other people are doing XYZ with their horses, or other people are doing this, or we're having this event, and I should go do it. When the truth is, other people don't care what I'm doing with my horses. Yeah, other people don't care what you're doing with your horses because they care about what they are doing with their horses. And so that 1% really opened the pathway for me to really understand. I believe cliches exist for a reason. I believe they exist for a reason because they're true. And I think a lot of times people say them and we know them to be true, but we don't live and breathe them and understand them on maybe a more organic level. So the 1% really allowed me to understand the process and take all of this external pressure off of myself that I had placed there, and really dive into my horsemanship and what I considered need to be next and success, and let the results take care of themselves. Now, within this journey, I've modified that 1% a little bit. That's always my expectation because it's a nice black and white line. 1%. It's a nice black and white line. But I I have high expectations for myself, and of that what I can accomplish in a day. I often think I can accomplish more than I actually can. And I tend to have that for my horses, even though I have my bar of 1%. I want to be over that bar. It's never good enough. It's never good enough just to be here. But what I've found with the 1% is it's pretty cool. That's my bare minimum to hit a day with my horses. But if I average out a week at 1%, then I still gained. And what I mean by that is I may have a couple days where, boy, howdy, my horse killed it. My horse killed it, and we improved 5% that day. And I mean, we're never going to have another off day. It's nothing but sunshine and rainbows from here on out. Here we go. And another ride that week, I'm at -2%. Like nothing is going right that day. And did I put the saddle on my horse backwards? Are we sure I got to the right barn today? So I think you can, or at least this is how I approach it, you can average out to get 1%. I got 5% this day, -2 this day, 3% that day, and still be making a whole lot of progress and still be internalized on making that progress yourself and working on bettering yourself, because you are your only competition. When you go to the competition, you are just there to get the results, actually, because all that work and prep work's happened at home, and then you are just seeing where you are at with your horse. And if you're at a certain level, you're going to get rewarded, and if you're not at that level, you're going to know where you are in that process. You've got you've got a new place on the map that you are located at, and know where your destination is going, and be able to move the needle that way. So the the 1% for me and my horses can often be an average. And sometimes it even changes within that ride. So boy, they gained that 1% on this skill that we've been working on for several weeks. And that skill I introduced last week, they were negative on. And this other thing that, by golly, they've known for 3 months now, well, they didn't check in for that movement, but you get the picture. And that has allowed the freedom for me to really break down a ride in my pathway for my horses, because I could be really proud that day of the 2% we got on the really new task that we've been working on, and understand that I didn't maybe set them up 100% how we've been working on. I've tried to ask that horse to be more independent, and I've not given them the guidance to be more independent in this other maneuver. And so it's why we didn't gain a lot there. And really, it's just changed my mindset on how I think about things and approach things with my horses. Because after all, and I've said it a lot on this podcast, our horses do these things because we ask them to. That's the only reason we ask them to. Charlie comes out of the stall to do, right now we're still in kind of rehab land, right? He comes out of the stall, and we get booted up, and we go ride, and we walk and trot because I asked him to do that. He doesn't sit in a stall, I don't believe. Maybe one day we'll know the answer. We don't today. And go, gosh, I really wish I could just break out of the stall and go run around 3 stationary objects really quickly. No, he works through that process with me because I've asked him to. And so having that ask in there really changes around and falls in line with the 1%, or the averaging out the 1%. And not only do I use that 1% improvement in my horses, that's where I really worked through a lot of that with them. I apply that to myself, and it's really helped. Like I said, I often overload or have high expectations of what I can get done in a day, or this or that activity. And I've started treating myself like my horses, and applying that 1% to me. Have I gotten better at juggling a schedule of virtual meetings and in-person meetings? Yes. Did I drop the ball this week and overbook? You bet. So we'll remedy that, and I know to work on that skill and continue to hone that and get it better. Instead of being like, gosh, you're so blonde, you messed that up, you did this, you did that, are you ever going to get the schedule right? Can't believe you did that. No, we'll monitor and adjust. We made a mistake. We didn't hit our 1% mark. We know that that's a weak spot right now, and we will get a better system for overbooking, or scheduling rather. So that 1% really helped me, not only in the barn, but in the mental arena, and along with the physical arena. Is, if you followed my journey talking about motor control, as I'm going back to the rope pen and really changing my riding around, is the 1% gain on the exercise table? Is it coming along? That is literally my only expectation on the exercise table right now. So as I've been working through different back stabilization exercises, and that's getting better, now I'm going to keep that at that level and really go work on a combination glute exercise or what have you. So am I keeping my 1% movement gain that I've gotten and now adding another layer to improve the foundation of movement for me? So maybe that 1% will help you. That 1% or the average of 1% will help you in how you organize your processes in your different arenas. So, friends, RE Nation, I'm here to tell you, growth is interesting, even from the icky side of the spectrum to the exhilarating side of the spectrum. Growth is always interesting. It always helps us learn and move the needle and have new experiences, be able to reflect upon those experiences, and then become more resilient with the next set. So I'm curious how growth affects you and what things that you use in your toolbox to affect growth for both you and your tribe. So send me a message, drop me a DM, tell me how your plan for growth and how you handle it goes. I hope you enjoyed this conversation this week. It was a little bit off the norm, but that's how we roll here at Writer's Edge. And I felt like with everything going on, it was an important conversation to have. So thank you for always hanging out with me. And as always, I will see you down the road. Thank you for listening to Writer's Edge Podcast. For show notes and other thoughts, head over to writersedgetherapy.com. If you would like to stay connected and continue the conversation, head over to my free Facebook group, Writer's Edge Health and Wellness for Horse and Rider. Thanks for continuing the conversation, and as always, I will see you down the road.